Hey you, welcome to my podcast. Do you like amebo, unsolicited advice, and very unconventional opinions about Christianity, mental health, and psychology? Then you're in the right place. It's Monday Morning Rant with Miss James H&M. Let's go! It's another episode of the Monday Morning Rant podcast. Welcome, welcome. I hope you had a very lovely weekend. So, this week I'm going to be taking a break from the series that has been ongoing, which is Give Me the Old Time Religion. I'm going to take a quick break. This week is going to be really, really quick. I don't want to say too much or do too much, just straight to the point. So, I was watching, or I am still watching, the series The Chosen. It's the what's the word now, adaptive movie of the story of the life of Jesus, though they added some extra things on the left and on the right for creative purposes. But I'm one that I find it difficult sometimes to watch movies like that because in my head I want it to be scripturally accurate. But one thing I love so much about that series, please go check it out. I think it's on Prime, and I think they used to have a channel for it one time when they first started, right? Just check online. But I know it's on Prime. I didn't even know there were 6 seasons gone. I watched the season one and I thought they just ended it there. I didn't know it continued. So recently I just decided to continue it. And one thing I really love about that series is how human they made Jesus look, because sometimes we find it difficult to understand that aspect of the fact that he was fully God, or he is fully God, sorry. He is fully God, but he was also fully man when he was here with us. I liked how the depiction of the fact that he felt pain at some point, he was hurt at some point, he was sad, he was tired, he was hungry. Like there are different portions where they portrayed the humanity of Christ in the best way possible. He was compassionate. He embodied human. Like I found it so fascinating. I found it so fascinating. But let me not digress. Where I'm going to is the story of how the apostles came to be, how he called them at different points. And I have done a podcast episode about the diversity of the first disciples and the early church, how diverse the 12 disciples were. I did an episode on that some time ago. I think, if I remember, the diverse, not something, or united, diverse, but not something, something. Please check it out on my YouTube page. Something diverse. Just anywhere you see diversity of diverse, that is the episode I'm talking about. And it's the fact that Matthew was a tax collector. If you know the history of that period in Israel, you will understand how tax collectors were perceived as traitors of their people, as horrible human beings. And people like Simeon the Zealot now were people who will naturally hate tax collectors. Simon the Zealot was a disciple of Jesus. Matthew the tax collector was also a disciple, in the same room, in the same space, and Jesus expected them to love each other. I like how the movie portrayed it in a way that they did not just start loving each other, they had to learn to love each other. They hated, like the hatred was there. Peter was one that was very vocal about his hatred for Matthew. Like, guy, you're a betrayer, you betrayed your people. I can't work with somebody like you. And Jesus prepared them together to do tasks together and do research or preparation for a feast or something. Jesus will pair Matthew and pair Peter, or pair Matthew and pair Simeon. Two people that are naturally supposed to hate each other, he will pair them together. And that shows us the concept that was in the heart of Jesus when he thought about the church and what the church will be like after he left, which is to portray love. Like with the 12 disciples, he sort of gave that example, like nothing should separate you guys from loving each other, no matter how diverse you are, no matter what your beliefs are. Anyways, let me not. I'm just diversing and digressing. But the main thing I want to talk about today is the fact that every disciple had something doing before Jesus called them. I've always had an issue with this saying of God doesn't call the prepared, or He doesn't call the ready. He calls you and then prepares you. Or no, 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 not that one. That's the correct one. There's one people like to quote when they are trying to justify some kind of things in the church. And what am I getting at? It's that if you look at the 12 disciples, each and every one of them had something doing. The sons of Zebedee, they were fishermen. Then the other ones too, there were another two pairs of fishermen. They were commercial fishermen. They were not small fishermen. No. They were doing it properly and they were faithful at what they were doing. Matthew was a tax collector. Simeon was a zealot. And if you check history and some explanations, theological explanations, also some scholars wrote about it, what the zealot group in Israel at that time was, and how disciplined the people they were. Some of them were trained assassins because they wanted them to some way had to kill some Roman heads or kill some Roman people or kill Israelites like Matthew were tax collectors and were perceived as betrayers of their own people. So they were trained assassins. Some of them were trained assassins. They were trained to murder people. They were trained to rebel. They were trained to cause riots and cause chaos to make the Roman rule as uncomfortable and as difficult as possible. Do you get? They believed in the freedom of Israel. They believed. Funny how the main thing they believed was the fact that the Messiah will come. You know, they had that notion, but most of them perceived the Messiah as a political person who was going to come. So there was sort of a misconception in their minds of who the Messiah was going to be. They all thought it was going to be a political leader that was going to come in that capacity, and have warriors, have influence to fight Rome and kick them out. But that wasn't the correct interpretation of all the prophecies they hold there. But my point is, zealots were disciplined people. They were smart people as well. They were passionate. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. They were passionate about something. So if we look at all the people Jesus called, there were some that were not specified what they really did, but some Bible scholars sort of did some, I don't want to say presumptions or analysis of who they might have been, like Bartholomew, like Judas. There was the concept that Judas must have had some knowledge about finance, which is why he was the one in charge of the purse. Also Bartholomew, Nathaniel, um Thaddeus was also perceived as someone who was learned in the law, in the Torah. Like he knew because of the conversations, some records in the Bible of the conversations he had with Jesus. It showed that he had the knowledge of the scripture. So it's possible he was either one of all these factions, Sadducee, Pharisee, or Sahandrins. I mean, what is the word? Anyways, I'm not a theologian. I can't explain fully, but my point is each and every one of them were found diligent at something. So my point is I don't think God just calls any random person. He calls, look at Paul. Paul is always a perfect example. He was passionate about the law. He was very passionate. Like these heretic people, I'm not going to stand for them. He will travel from where he is, travel somewhere else to go and murder Christians because he felt they were heretic. He felt they were against the law of God. He was passionate about something. And God took that passion and purified that passion. So my point is, God doesn't call anyhow people. He doesn't call people that lack discipline. He doesn't call people that ordinary word documents that your boss asked you to compile and do something about since 2 weeks now. You have been giving excuses, but you will come home and watch a Korean series that has 15 episodes, but you've still not done that. Bible scripture, I say Bible study, personal Bible study. You're not disciplined enough to sit to study the scripture, but you can finish a novel in a day. Sometimes at work, when you're supposed to be working, you're watching Korean series or you're watching something, you're reading novels, you're doing what you should not be doing. God doesn't call anyhow people. Everyone, check the scripture. Every time God called somebody, they were passionate about something. See Moses. Moses just had a burden for the for his people, because yes, his mom was the one that sort of nursed him till a certain age, was his nanny, so to say. So she must have told him, you are not an Egyptian, you are an Israelite. You are, prophecies told him certain things about himself. But he did not just leave it there. He didn't just leave it at, oh, these are the things my mom told me, or these are the things she taught me about Israelites. He grew up in the palace, so he was not he was lacking nothing. He had a good life. He had an excellent life, but he couldn't just stay put and watch these people that he knows to be his people suffer. There are people that, even in current day Nigeria, are there not people that are supporting um some kind of things in the government or governance because they are enjoying some benefits from it? Do you understand? Like they just, they see something maybe in their constituency or something. They see something wrong, they can't call it out because to them they're like, I beg go, who go feed my family? I saw an interview about some one. I don't know if he's, I don't know what political role he holds or what political office he holds, but he was talking and he was like, people are castigating him for supporting certain things, and are they the ones that will feed my family? Do you understand? So that concept of, oh, it's Nigerians as a whole, we need to protect our people, we need to, they there because they are benefiting. But Moses had benefits. He had everything he could ask for. He lived in the palace. He had a good life. He was raised as a prince in Egypt. But he just couldn't look away. He saw an Egyptian maltreating, and he could not take it. Do you know the anger you have to feel to beat somebody to death? Like, why you, this is my kinsman, why are you beating this guy, why are you oppressing them? Do you get? He felt that anger, so God took hold of that passion and used it for his purpose. So my point is, as someone who, maybe there have been prophecies of, you have the call of God on your life, you have this and that, you know different prophecies, you have to contend for these things. This is not to say our faith or our salvation, you have to work for it, or you have to no. But there are things you must have in your, there are qualities at first that you must have in your life before you are even um considered useful. Is that the word? That sounds harsh, but that is basically it. Basic things, self-discipline. Some people, in your small office, in small choir, people are paying one k for bow tie and scarf, and you're already stealing from that money. But there have been prophecies on your life of when you are called to the nations, you are kiniko kiniko. You've not dealt with that in your life. You are not even diligent with the little God has committed into your hands, and you think that global ministry is going to come to be. No, no. Prophecies, there are many prophecies. If we go around, if there was a farm where they harvested prophecies that didn't come to pass, or that farm go full, because whenever God speaks, it will surely come to pass. But because he's sovereign and he is also a God that values your choices, he's not going to maneuver around your character flaws and maneuver around it and be like, don't worry, yes, I know you're battling immorality, but come, let me use you like that. No, he's going to deal with certain things in your life. He will qualify you, yes, but there are also certain things you must be willing to lay down to pick up your cross and serve Him and follow Him. Basic things, self discipline, diligence in that little place where you have been given an assignment, your workplace, you're supposed to submit your tasks every Friday, but you're the one always asking for extension. You will always, every time, there is even your boss don't even zero in mind. Anytime he gives you something to do and it's like, give me next week, in his mind, he has already told himself he will not finish it in that 1 week. Just give him till the end of the month. Things like that, where people can point and say, this person is not a disciplined person. This person is not even diligent. This person is lazy. This person is lackadaisical. But you can't now think in that state of you not caring and just breezing through life. God will just be like, oh, come, let me use you like that. No. There are things you must fix in your life. There are things that must be in place. Basic, basic thing of it is discipline and diligence. Every single one of the disciples was diligent at something before Jesus called them. They were passionate about something before that passion was refined and used for God. Is why sometimes when you see converts, either Muslim converts or people that came from a totally different religious background and idea, when they receive an encounter or they get an encounter from God and they convert, they are always very disciplined. They are very, because even in that other, when they were in that other side, or they were doing other kinds of religion or practicing other, they were diligent in it. They are the ones that they know they 1 day of fasting, they will not miss it. There are 5 times a day of prayer. It will always, nothing can shake it. Even when they are sick, they will do it. They sought the being they thought to be God. They sought Him diligently. So when God finds people like that, there's something to be refined. So God doesn't, you can't just be breezing through life and think, oh, God will just pick you in your indiscipline, in your lack of seriousness and lack of drive and everything. God will just pick you like that with your laziness. There are things you must fix in yourself, by yourself first, for you to be perceived as being able for what's the word now? For something bigger to be entrusted in your hand. Yes, that's the word. And that brings me to the parable of the 10 talents. I feel many of us don't understand that. We just, the teaching we've gotten from that is, God has given you talents, you are not using it, He will collect it from you and give it on. It's not just that. It's not just that. It's the sometimes if we bring it to our normal day life, for some of it is the lack of motivation to do anything. You just want to be a couch potato. You don't want to do anything, like anything that will push you out of your comfort zone. You don't care for it. You don't want it. That is like you burying your talent, because there are so many things in you. There are so many things you can do with your time that's productive and will benefit even the small circle of people around you. But you're not interested. You just want to be in your space by yourself, enjoy life, cruise through life. This life not hard like that. No, think about it. And for some people, they can be scared. There's that lack of motivation sometimes. They are scared, but when you put them in a space to use their talent within the confines of an organization or a system that they are supposed to build on their own, they actually function well. I don't know if that makes sense. For instance, somebody now that God has been telling you, you're supposed to start an NGO, you're supposed to have this group of people, I want you to do this kind of outreaches, but your head, you're like, how am I going to go about it? How am I even going to, what will I do? How will I start? You're scared. The fear is why you've not started. But when the call comes for you to volunteer somewhere or to help out in somebody else's NGO or somebody else's outreach vision and all of that, that is fully funded, they just need hands, you function properly. That is what the scripture was saying when He said, you should have invested this to the bank. Invest it instead of burying it. You should have invested, at least it will yield something. So for those who will not necessarily start or are gingered or motivated to start those things God has asked you to do, invest it somewhere. Invest it somewhere in the sense that if you see a ministry that is already standing, or an organization, an outreach related to that thing God has been telling you about, you don't have the confidence, or the, I don't want to say confidence, you're too afraid to do it by yourself, but you see somebody else doing it, then volunteer, give your time, give your service. It is considered investment, like you investing your talents into a bank, investing it somewhere else. That's basically what I have to say today. So if you are fine, if you are hey God, English, if you are found wanting in diligence in wherever you are, either at your workplace, in church, in your community, your neighborhood, different places, wherever you can think of, even to your friends. There are some people that can just be funny friends. Like when it's their own turn to need help, they want everybody to come running, but they are not the type to run for anybody's emergencies. If you are that kind of person, fix that. Fix your self discipline, fix your passion, fix your drive, so that when God comes to call, or when God calls you, or when God decides to put something in your hand, there are qualities that it will meet. You won't have to start struggling from start to build from scratch. You are building character along the same line. You are building a business, different things. That's my message for you today. I hope I made sense. And I hope this touches you somewhere, hits you somewhere, and helps you divert some things in your life that needs diverting. Yeah, I'll see you next week on another episode of the Monday Morning Rant podcast. Enjoy your week, enjoy God, and stay diligent. Stay frosty. Bye.